Hello, everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. When we think about the future of electric vehicles, it's so easy to just picture the cars themselves or maybe that physical charging cable you plug into your vehicle. But today, we are going to look way beyond that. We're literally peeling back the curtain to examine the massive, largely invisible systems that are actually powering our green energy future. We're pulling all our data today directly from Electrify America's Q1 2026 report to the California Air Resources Board. It's a genuinely fascinating look at the bleeding edge of energy infrastructure, and I'm absolutely thrilled to guide you through it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. First, building the fast charging network. Second, energizing underserved communities. Third, the invisible smart grid. Fourth, red tape and roadblocks. And finally, powering fleets and transit.
Section 1. Building the fast charging network. Now, I really want to challenge your assumption of what it actually takes to build a charging network. Because it's not just about dropping a few plugs in a grocery store parking lot, right? It's about constructing a comprehensive, high-speed web across vast geographies. And to give you a sense of that scale, just think about this number: 1,300. That is the number of chargers Electrify America currently operates across more than 270 sites in the state of California alone. It's a pretty staggering footprint when you stop and consider the heavy engineering required for every single one of those locations. And when you map that footprint out across California, you can really start to see what that actually means. This isn't just a handful of isolated stations scattered around. It's a dense, statewide web. From those highly traveled highway corridors to critically important regional routes and massive metropolitan areas, this infrastructure is basically blanketing the state to make sure drivers are never too far from their next charge. But listen, scale means absolutely nothing without speed. In just the first quarter of 2026, they upgraded 18 existing stations with 85 new next-generation Generation 4 chargers. These are what they call hyper-fast chargers, which are capable of delivering up to 350 kilowatts of power. And to actually push the boundaries of physics and handle that kind of intense electrical current safely, these stations use state-of-the-art liquid-cooled cables that are completely certified to UL standards in the US. It's just incredible, bleeding-edge technology hiding right there in plain sight. Section 2. Energizing underserved communities. Because, a network this advanced is only truly revolutionary if everyone actually has access to it. It's absolutely crucial to look at exactly where these high-tech stations are being planted. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the massive gap between the goal and the reality. The state gave Electrify America a target. Try to invest 35% of your resources in low-income and disadvantaged communities. But as the data shows, they completely smashed that target. In reality, about 55% of their public fast-charging stations are located in these designated communities. Connecting that data to the real world, this really illustrates the overall goal. Making sure that clean infrastructure actually reaches rural areas and disadvantaged neighborhoods isn't just some afterthought, it is a core part of the transition. These investments help bridge the gap, ensuring that, as we move toward a zero-emission future, no community gets left behind in the gas-powered past.
Section 3. The invisible smart grid.
Okay, we're going to take our eyes off the visible plugs in the parking lot for a second to really understand this next part, the behind-the-meter magic. We need to talk about the concept of a virtual power plant, or VPP. Essentially, it's a network of distributed power generating units acting together like one giant system. Electrify America actually operates more than 50 stations equipped with battery energy storage systems, which acts as the largest VPP of its kind. They pull energy from the grid during off-peak hours, when power is a lot cheaper and less carbon-intensive, store it in batteries, and then use that stored power during peak demand. This actually helps stabilize the whole California independent system operator wholesale energy market. And here is what that looks like out in the real world. You see these massive battery banks backing up the chargers? That's what makes it possible. And what's even better is that all the energy delivered to their fast-charging customers is backed by 100% renewable energy. They do this by retiring renewable energy certificates for massive solar projects like Solar Glow 1. So when you plug in, you're not just blindly drawing from the grid. You're drawing from a smartly managed, renewably backed storage system.
Now, the grid innovation gets even more fascinating when we look at rural areas. They have deployed these completely off-grid standalone stations. Each one of these is equipped with a 4.28 kilowatt sun-tracking solar array, plus a 32 kilowatt-hour stationary battery. That setup powers 2 level 2 chargers, meaning 2 cars can charge simultaneously using purely 100% renewable solar electricity. They are entirely grid independent. That means they work in any weather, at any time of day, and astonishingly, even during a total utility blackout. It's amazing.
Section 4. Red tape and roadblocks. Of course, building the future isn't exactly a walk in the park. Because while the technology itself works perfectly, the bureaucracy surrounding it is, well, throwing a massive wrench into the gears. So the crucial point is right here in the data. When we look at California and compare it to the national average, the numbers are pretty stark. It actually costs on average 27% more to design and construct a station in California than in other states. And a huge chunk of these soft costs come directly from permitting delays. The permitting process alone for fast charging stations in California averaged 62 business days in Q1 2026. That is 18% longer than the national average. But honestly, getting the permit is really just the beginning of the waiting game. Just check out this timeline. First, you have the utility design phase, which averages about 38 weeks. Then Electrify America actually finishes building the physical charging station. And then they wait. I mean, we've all been frustrated waiting on hold with the electric company, right? But imagine finishing a multi-million-dollar high-tech construction project and then waiting an average of 32 weeks just for the utility to come out and flip the switch to turn the power on. The report states it very plainly, and I quote, "This higher cost per station results in California receiving fewer stations per dollar invested by Electrify America." This just brilliantly highlights the real-world impact of administrative red tape. It's not just a corporate headache for developers behind a desk. It literally means fewer chargers are available for everyday drivers out on the road. Let's move to and see how this builds into our final section, Section 5, Powering Fleets and Transit. If we want to truly move the emissions needle, we have to look beyond consumer cars and look at the massive scale of commercial transport. We are talking about colossal industrial-scale projects here. For example, down at the Port of Long Beach, they've set up 44 chargers to support 60 electric Class 8 heavy-duty trucks for Forgen Logistics. And over in Ontario, California, they partnered with NFI Industries to build 38 dispensers, backed by a massive 4-megawatt battery storage system. This whole microgrid setup will support over 70 electric drayage trucks operating around the clock at the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach. The sheer scale of power required here is just mind-blowing. And you know, this extends to public transit too. Electrify America actually funded the Sacramento Green City Initiative, which supports the Causeway Connection electric bus. This route replaces an old private bus with a public, zero-emission service running from Davis straight to Sacramento, and it specifically serves low-income and disadvantaged communities. So this infrastructure is quietly powering the buses people take to work and school every single day. And this brilliantly illustrates the duality of the network we've been exploring today. On one hand, you have that familiar consumer experience, pulling your personal car into a brightly lit, beautifully designed station. But right alongside it, you have this massive, glowing industrial-scale backbone that powers commercial fleets, stabilizes the entire energy grid, and runs on pure, renewable energy. Both sides are absolutely critical to making the EV future a reality. Which leaves us with a pretty critical question to ponder as we wrap up this explainer. The technology is clearly here, right? It's smart, it's fast, and it is more than capable of powering everything from a family sedan to a heavy-duty freight truck. But are our infrastructure policies, our permitting processes, and our utility speeds actually moving fast enough to keep up with our hyper-fast green energy emissions? It's an ongoing race between climate-saving innovation and bureaucratic delay, and it's definitely something we all need to be paying close attention to. Thank you so much for joining me today, and keep learning.